friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany, where I have new videos every week about books and the geeky mom lifestyle. In today's video, I'm talking about my top 12 favorite romances that I read in 2020. Alright, y'all know I have been diving hardcore into romance this past year. I've been loving it. I've been reading a lot of it and really getting a feel for what I like in romance and what I don't like in romance, finding some new favorite authors. It's been a really strong year for me, and so today I'm excited to share with you my 12 favorite romance books that I read this year. One of them is a series. Like, there's a series that I read most of this year that's getting a spot on this list, but otherwise they're individual books. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Coming in at number 12 is a book that was sent to me by the author for review, and I really loved it and would like to read more from this author. That is Like Lovers Do by Tracy Livesay. This is a contemporary interracial romance that is really fun and is doing a lot of tropes that I like, all kind of mixed into one, which is kind of cool. It has friends to lovers and fake dating and the only one bed trope. Like, it's doing a whole bunch of stuff, and I just really enjoyed it. It's got great characters. I really liked the hero and the heroine. I liked the topics that this was covering and just the romance in general. This was a whole lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. The basic premise of this book is that the heroine is a medical professional who's got a lot of ambitions and doesn't really have time to slow down for a real relationship. And her best friend is a guy who is her roommate. He is determined to find a wife who wants to settle down and have children, and so even though he's always been attracted to his roommate, they've never done anything about it. Now there's some family drama, and he has to go to Martha's Vineyard for a couple of weeks and is going to see his ex and asks her if she'd be willing to be his fake girlfriend for that week. And so, of course, you know, like, she's his fake girlfriend. They finally end up talking about their feelings and it works out. I thought it was so well done. I loved the way that everything played out. I really liked their relationship. I also really enjoy the friends to lovers thing where they already have really good communication with one another. This was just really lovely. It was a lot of fun. Easily coming in at number 12. Number 11 is a great book if you like your romance soapy, because this is definitely a soapier story, but I just like loved it and ate it up. This is Forbidden Promises by Cynthia Williams. I had an advance copy of this and loved it so much I bought a finished copy for myself. It follows an elite Black family in the South with lots of secrets and things that they are hiding. Like I said, this is very soapy. There's lots of family drama, and this book follows the youngest daughter of that family who comes back to town and ends up with her sister's ex-husband. So it's like messy, but it's complicated, and there's a whole history that gets unpacked. I really enjoyed this. I had a great time with all of the drama. I liked the relationship, and I've read book 2 in the series, which I also really enjoyed. So yeah, Cynthia Williams is a new author for me this year that I'm really loving. Number 10 is a book that you've probably seen on a couple of other video lists if you've been watching all of these, but it is in fact one of my favorite romances that I read this year. That is Rain and Ruin by J.D. Evans. This is an indie fantasy romance that is so good. It's got this really great slow burn romance that I was totally here for. And what I like about this is it's a great crossover novel for epic fantasy. It's really kind of a blend of the two, really strong romance, really good world building and plot. So it's a book that I would recommend to fantasy readers interested in getting into romance. It's a book that I would recommend to romance readers interested in getting into epic fantasy. Like, this is a really great crossover place to start, and I just loved it. I loved both elements of it. I thought it was so well done and one of the best debuts that I read this year. So that is my number 10 favorite romance of 2020. Number 9 is the third book in a series that I have just generally been loving. Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams, book 3 in the Bromance book club series. I loved this so much. It was my, like, tropes that I really love. It's got a slow burn kind of friends to lovers story. It's got a cinnamon roll hero. Yeah, this was great. I've just been enjoying this entire series. It follows a bunch of guys who secretly have a romance book club where they read and discuss romances as a way of better understanding the women in their lives, and yeah, this was great. It was so good. Number 8 this year was the Brothers Sinister series by Courtney Milan. This is one of the books that I read from the series this year. I read, oh man, I think I read like 3 full-length novels and 2 novellas in this series, and just absolutely loved them. I've been loving Courtney Milan's writing. I'm becoming like a Courtney Milan fangirl, and I keep talking about her stuff. This is totally my jam in terms of historical romance and some of the things that I really enjoy for more serious historical romance, although this one's actually kind of funny too. Courtney Milan focuses a lot on including bigger thematic topics that she's addressing in her historical romance. She also does a great job of having a diverse cast of characters. She doesn't erase the existence of people of color and queer people from her romances, which I really appreciate. And I just really enjoy them. I like the characters. I like that she has strong, smart heroines. I like that she has great, strong heroes that aren't alpha male. I just kind of love these. They're totally my thing. And so this entire series had to go on the list. So number 7 and number 6 are actually books by the same author. So the only author that's on here twice other than the Courtney Milan series. Number 7 is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was so good. I love Talia Hibbert in general. I'm so glad that she's starting to get more play. I had read some of her indie published stuff before she was traditionally published with the Brown Sister series, and she's just so good. This book in particular is fantastic, and I think also a great entry point for people who aren't really romance readers but are interested in giving it a try. It's got fake dating, it's got a bisexual curvy black woman as our main character, and the hero is a Muslim former rugby player, so they end up fake dating each other, and I just love this a lot. It also is cool because it kind of reverses the typical tropes that you see men and women fall into in terms of gender stereotypes. In this case, our heroine is the one who doesn't want to commit to real long-term relationships and just wants to keep things casual, and the hero really wants it all. He wants to fall in love, he wants a happily ever after, he reads romance novels, which is so adorable. Yeah, this was funny, it was fun, it was just really lovely, and definitely one that I would recommend to people. Number 6 is another book by Talia Hibbert that I read at the end of the year and loved. This was so my jam. I know this isn't necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but I loved it. It is Wrapped Up in You, and it is a holiday novella that is a Kobo exclusive. So I downloaded the Kobo app just so I could read this. I expected to like it because I like Talia Hibbert's writing in general, but this, it just like hit those buttons of things that I personally really love in romance. It's got a prickly heroine who's got lots of walls up because she's been hurt, but inside is like ooey gooey and like wants to find love. It's a childhood friends to lovers story. They both had crushes on the other person but never thought the other one was interested in them, and now they're stuck at her grandma's house over the holidays, and I just loved it. There's so much angst and prickliness, and it just made me so happy. It definitely spends a lot of time in the hero and heroine's head, which I was all about. Like, I love that inner monologue and like the angst and the longing. It was so good, but some people in reviews didn't like that, so it depends on kind of your taste in romance, but I was a huge fan of this. I think my favorite thing I've ever read from Talia Hibbert, which is saying something because she's written some phenomenal things. One thing I will say about this is while Talia Hibbert typically writes pretty steamy stories, this one is not really steamy. You get a very short, slightly steamy scene in the epilogue at the very end of it, but this story is really more about the feelings than about like the sex. So just know that going in, but I loved it a whole lot. That said, we are at my top 5 romances for the year. Number 5 is another holiday romance. This is One More for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. I love this so much. It's kind of a mix of romance and women's fiction. One of the characters has a romantic plot line, so there's like a strong romance through it, but it's also a lot about the different members of the family. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, Sarah Morgan does some of the best character work I have ever seen. She writes amazing, nuanced characters that don't fall into stereotypes when they could, and this is just so good. It's also very festive. It involves Christmas in the Scottish Highlands, so if you want something that feels very Christmassy, this is a great one to pick up. The main premise of this is there's a woman who has 2 adult daughters that she's estranged from because she really spent all of her time and energy focused on her career for reasons that are much more nuanced than you might think they are at the beginning of the book. But when she has a serious accident and gets injured, she realizes that there are things missing from her life and wants to reconnect with her daughters over the holiday. So it follows 3 perspectives, the mom and each of the 2 daughters, as they end up together in the Scottish Highlands for Christmas, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. Definitely wanted to put it on my favorites list, and it was one of my favorite romances that I read this year. Coming in at number 4 is a book that has maybe my favorite heroine that I read in 2020, because I just love her a lot, but everything about this book worked for me. That is Tempest by Beverly Jenkins. It's a historical romance with a mail-order bride and this very sassy, spicy kind of female main character who's a mail-order bride for a widowed town doctor who's kind of like a quiet, bookish introvert. He has a young daughter who he's trying to raise and doesn't really know what he's doing with it, and I love this so much. Like, he's not expecting a love match. He just really wants somebody to help with like raising his daughter. It's a slow burn. They slowly fall in love with each other, and I loved everything about this. I know, like, I sent this to Mara at Books Like Whoa for our TBR swap, and she really liked it and especially liked Reagan, the heroine. She didn't like the hero that much and thought he was kind of bland. I really liked him a lot. He's like kind of a bookish nerd, which I enjoy in my heroes, but depending on what you like in a hero, I liked him a lot. But yeah, this was phenomenal. I think this is also probably one of the more steamy romances that I've read from Beverly Jenkins, but in general, her books are just incredible, and you will always learn something historical from them. She does a lot of research, and yeah, this was great. It's also just really funny. Like, the opening is perfection, right? And I think sets the stage so nicely. Like, at the beginning of the book, Regan is on her way traveling to where, because she's a mail order bride, right? And they had been attacked by bandits, and so she accidentally shoots her husband-to-be in the shoulder because she thinks he's one of the bandits come back. It's like, whoops. Anyway, it was great. I really loved this a whole lot. Number 4, favorite of the year. Coming in at number 3 is my favorite book in a series that I have read a lot of this year. In fact, this might be the series that I've read the most books in 2020. I think that's probably accurate, because I think I read like 9 books in the series, which is a lot. But this is Caressed by Ice by Nalini Singh, book 3 in the Psy Changeling series. I really love the series, but this book is my favorite. It's great. It's between a Psy hero and a changeling heroine, and I love their relationship. It's more of a slow burn romance than what you get in some of the other books in the series, and I think the thing that really elevated this for me and made it one of my favorite romances of the year, and in fact like one of my favorite books that I read this year, was the way that it handled the issue of trauma in an intimate relationship. Both characters in this book have been through really difficult things, and particularly the heroine has experienced a lot of trauma, and this book kind of tackles what it looks like to slowly develop a healthy sexual relationship when somebody has been the victim of abuse and trauma in the past. And I just thought it was beautiful. It was so well done. I loved their relationship. Definitely my favorite book in the series, with a lot of great books, but this is my favorite, and one of my favorite romances that I read this year. Down to my top 2. These should come as no surprise. Both of them made my top favorite books of 2020 list. Coming in at number 2 is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I've gushed about this book maybe enough, but it is so good, and I'm really, really pleased to see so many people picking it up and loving it. That makes me really happy. It's got nerdy grown-ups and fan fiction and amazing fat representation. It's body positive. It's so, so good. If you want to hear more details, of course, I have like a lengthier Goodreads review, but I feel like I've talked about this now in so many videos, I don't want to go into too much detail, but guys, please, please, please pick up Spoiler Alert. It's just so good, and everybody that I've recommended it to has pretty much loved it, and yeah, so Really loved this. This was my second favorite romance of the year. It was everything that I wanted it to be, which made me so happy. And lastly, my favorite romance that I read in 2020 is another indie published one, and this is a more hard-hitting romance that just really, really left an impression on me. Plus it's soapy, which is fun. I'm finding that I can really enjoy a good soapy romance. That is Grip by Kennedy Ryan. This is a contemporary interracial romance between a white woman and a black man, and I won't get into all of the details because it's complicated, but while there are kind of like melodramatic soapy elements to this, which I really enjoyed, and there's like a lot of twists and turns and wild things that happen, that was great. But the other thing that I really loved about this is I think this is the best depiction I've ever seen in a romance before of the real issues that come up in interracial relationships like this. And it tackles some difficult issues and does it very well and very sensitively, and I loved it. I really want to read more from Kennedy Ryan in the future. Yeah, so favorite romance of the year was Grip by Kennedy Ryan. So there you go. Those are my 12 favorite romances that I read this year out of a year of a lot of really, really great romances. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for your question of the day, tell me what was one of your favorite romances that you read in 2020. What was it? What did you love about it? What made it work for you? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more, and if you want to support the work of the channel, check out the Patreon linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.